Hello, all you awesome people out there. Welcome or welcome back to Geek Vids Entertainment with me, your host, as always, Hoover, the one place dedicated to the big three of visual media: film, video games, and television. And we are back with another brand new edition of I Just Watched, where I give my impressions slash review, talk about things I like. Basically, I just yap about a show, movie, or game. And in this one, we're going to be talking about Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four: First Steps. I saw it. It was a while ago now, actually. it was quite a while ago, but I watched it. I saw it, so we gonna talk about it here today. The beginning of Marvel's Phase Six, and honestly, the movie that's putting us on the very, I don't know, somehow somehow long, but still very short path towards Doomsday and Secret Wars, because it's only like three. It's only one movie before we get the Avengers movies, and that's it. But they're like a year plus away. So that's what we're gonna be talking about here. If you haven't already, check out some of the other I just watched, I just plays. Expedition 33, we'll talk about. I think that's the sole video game when we got out right now. But other movies, I talked about the Thunderbolts, Sinners, and Captain America: Brave New World. And then on the TV front, we've talked about Ironheart. Superman was also on the movies too. But we talked about Ironheart, we talked about Invincible and Paradise, all as well. So feel free to check those out, as well as the other plethora of things on the channel as well. So feel free to check those out. All right, but for this episode, we're going to be talking about the one, the only Fantastic Four: First Steps. Marvel's the MCU debut proper of the first family, Marvel's first family, Fantastic Four. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. As you already know, I'm going to start with a brief overview. Then I'm going to go into some stories, how it worked out, the plot, give my general overview of that. Talk about things I like, talk about things I didn't like, and any other important additional things I want to talk about at the very end. Then just my general thought, and then maybe a score if I remember to actually say it in these reviews. So yeah, that is what we're all going to be talking about here today. So let's me go ahead and stop yapping and let's get into it, shall we? All right, so Fantastic Four: First Steps released in theaters on July 25th. It is still available in theaters as of right now. The film was written by Josh Friedman, Eric Pearson, Jeff Kaplan, and Ian Springer. The movie is directed by Matt Shakman, and it stars Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, Aban Mas Baccarat, Natasha Lyonne, Ralph Ensign, Paul Walter Hauser, and Julia Garner. So the Fantastic Four see us with the Fantastic Four, who have been heroes in their original universe for about 4 years now, and have always beaten back every villain they faced and every evil that stood up against them. But when space god Galactus arrives along with his herald, the Silver Surfer, their role as heroes and family will be tested like it never has before. Um, Now, I know some people. I've seen some people talk about how the movie is a little slow at the beginning. It kind of takes a little while to ramp up. But me, I personally, I like it. Because you got to remember, they essentially have to explain the entire history of these heroes. In this one movie without it being an origin story, so they got quite a bit of stuff they got to talk about and get through in this one. But yeah, I like it, and I like the moments of them just being like a family and interacting with one another during the little moment, because there's a little montage at the start of the movie, like I mentioned, to kind of explain kind of who they are, give the origin story without it having to take course over the entire movie. So that's what that is for. But when things really get going, I feel like it really starts to go. My biggest issue with previous Fantastic Four films was that I felt like they never really got the family aspect right in the movies. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of weird. This is kind of weird. This is just kind of me in my own mind, just kind of like something I felt like you need to handle, because I feel like with the Fantastic Four movies, you get the obvious connections in there, right? You get Ben and Reed, of course, they're best friends, so you gotta cover that type of stuff. Reed and Sue, they're the love interest, so you gotta get that. Another easy thing. Sue and Johnny are best friends. I mean, not best friends, my bad. Sue and Johnny are siblings. So you have that going for you all the time. And then of course, like Johnny and Ben, they have their little interactions, their little, they're always messing with each other, poking fun, mostly Johnny poking fun at Ben. So for me, it was like, for me, I need to see for me to really kind of make this movie go in the family aspect, I said you really need to nail. I need to see interactions with Johnny and Reed because I feel like that's something that kind of gets left off a bit. But also, more importantly, you need to get some stuff with Ben and Sue. Now, for as much as I said that, I will give credit. I will, maybe a little negative here. We didn't get a lot of things between one on one with Sue and Ben a lot in this movie. So for that to be my criteria, they still kind of didn't cross it. So it kind of gives a little negative in there. But it is kind of set off things in the right place. It kind of like one of the first interactions was actually Johnny and Reed at the start. But it was there. But anywho, besides that though, if I'm just going off just the dynamic of them all together as a family, I will say this movie does nail that completely right. But most importantly, it also leans on it very heavily in this one. Granted, it is because the plot kind of demands it, but I like the fact that they made it a main plot point, so they have to have focused on it for this movie. Another thing I like is also like how they kind of showcase everyone's strength outside of just their powers. They actually had Ben doing a lot of flying and a lot of piloting in this. Which, by the way, first Fantastic Four movie we got where they actually fucking go into space. So that's a huge thing, a huge plus in this one for me. They kept, the other two, they kept them very grounded. Granted, one did have them crossing over to a parallel universe, but not a lot of space flight or space exploration. So kudos for them in this one for that one. But yeah, Ben's piloting skills were highlighted. They had a little subplot with like Johnny deciphering like an alien language. Sue being like the diplomat and the heart of the team. She ran that Future Foundation thing, so she had experience with it. And Reed kind of like battling with his mind and his heart, which is another thing I feel like the last two movies never really did too well. They did a really good job of showcasing that he's smart, but I think this is the first time they kind of really had it so that showcasing that he's smart, but sometimes it could be sometimes his mind could be to his detriment. Like there's this scene where he and Sue argue, and it's a great scene, and it really kind of showcases exactly what I'm talking about in that scene. He voices it very well, and he explains it in that clip too. And I think that's a really interesting aspect of Reed's character because it's something that showcases in the comics for some storylines, but it's never been showcased in the movie. It's always just Reed smart, and like that's basically all you really get from him. Sometimes it's like he kind of gets involved in like some things. Like I remember in the first Fantastic Four, there was a whole thing of like um him being smart, so him and Sue's relationship always kind of gets stalled. But that's the other thing. I don't want to talk too much about the last movies. But yeah. So yeah, I really like that. Ben also had his little moments of struggling, which I think is a very important point for his character. The fact that he always struggles with his physical appearance. Him as a thing is always something that's like present. They didn't have it become like a huge plot point in this one. Again, I feel like this being them being the Fantastic Four for 4 years at this point, as opposed to this being the very start of it. I feel like it kind of didn't need to be a main thing for his character, but it is still there. It's just these very small, subtle moments in the movie where it kind of gets highlighted, and I really like that. The fact that they kept it there, but they never made it his entire character for the movie. Um, Even Silver Surfer had like a really good character moment. Again, a little spoilery, but it was a nice little moment that they had for him that I think it handled very well. Too. Um, so I do want to bring up some other things. The visuals in this movie are great. If y'all don't know, one of the big things, especially with Marvel movies or superhero movies in general, one thing that can kind of always win me over, even if it's like a mid movie, as if just the visuals are on point. Like if the world just feels very built out and lived in, it's a plus for me. Like the first Thor movie ain't one of the best Marvel movies, but it's probably like one of my top 10 Marvel movies simply because our first introduction to Asgard and it just looks really good. Mystery Men is another one, like an old like early 2000s superhero movie. It's not that good of a movie, but I fucking love it because of the visuals and the world that it takes place in. Or just it's just like if anything, as long as the movie is good to look at while you're watching it visually, it does kind of do some things here. Luckily, this movie also has a good story to go along with it too, with great acting as well. So it doesn't really suffer from that. But the fact that it's there is a huge plus for me. Like I knew I was gonna love the visuals of the movie right from like that from the first damn artwork we got before the cameras even started rolling. When like they just kind of show like that first artwork announcing the cast and like their first appearance at Comic Con, I believe they appeared at Comic Con before they even started shooting the movie. So Max Shackman and the crew just pulled up with like a bunch of concept art and shit, and I loved it from there. I had a huge smile on my face from like the opening shot of like the Baxter Building, that I thought was just phenomenal. It was great. Speaking of the Baxter Building, that was it right there, very briefly. But yeah, I knew I was gonna like the visual of this movie. Silver Surfer looked great as well. Galactus looked awesome. I do wish they highlighted the purple a little bit more. At first, I was saying like, "Damn, there's not purple at all," but it was a little bit there, especially if you've seen the behind the scenes photos Ralph Ensign was sharing of him in the practical suit. There actually is some purple there. It's just very muted in the movie. I wish they highlighted that a little bit more. You know, your boy loves him some purple. Um, but yeah, but huge ups to the production design team and the on-set artists. Every set is dope. The city, every room in the Baxter Building, the Excelsior One, their ship, Galactus' ship, all fucking just dope. There is this one scene where Silver Surfer Shala Ball, she gets caught. Minor, I get minor spoilers, but it doesn't really reveal anything too bad. She gets caught in like a black hole, and it is just this dope ass sequence that takes place there, and I loved it. It was awesome. It was kind of trippy. Also, fucking how odd is it that the two superhero tempo movies we get for the summer both involve a goddamn black hole? I just thought that was kind of fucking hilarious. Um, yeah, I think this might be some of the best and the most action we've gotten in any of the Fantastic Four movies. Now, while I do say it's the most action and some of the best, I'll talk about a little bit more and what I didn't like about it. But still, I still wish there was a little bit more in there. I don't want to talk about too much now, but I'll talk about it later. But I do wish there was a little bit more in there. Also love the focus on everybody in the Fantastic Four being a little bit nerdy, being intelligent, super nerdy shit. I loved it. Um, Typically in I feel like in the Fantastic Four movies, it's typically just Reed comes up with the plan and everybody just does their thing in it. But I like the fact that everybody kind of had their own thing that they were doing to contribute to the main problem, as opposed to everybody just following Reed's plan. But that might spill a little bit more into the other stuff. But so we'll get into what I like and what I didn't like about the movie. So starting off with what I did like I mentioned, visuals are great, production design top tier, costumes, outfits, even the wardrobe of just some of the civilians. They had like this little cartoon that they have in the show. I love it. All that stuff, absolutely love it. The sound design and the music in this movie is A1. Like when the thing walks, you can like hear the weight of him with every step he takes. And like when he claps, it was kind of showing off in like that first trailer, but like when he claps, when he takes a little taste of the salt, just all that sound of just like the rock just like scraping against itself. I just love all that little sound detail. I just love. Also the sound the Silver Surfer makes when she flies and passes through things was just just does something in my brain. I just love the sound effect of it. Also that little effect on her voice where it kind of sounds like vocals coming through just like a metallic chamber. I love that as well. The music, I knew I would love the music again right from like that first trailer and shit. But yeah, man, the music in this was just so good. It's amazing. Giacchino, he did his shit. He showed his ass in this movie, and I loved it. Um, Now, excuse me if I get I know how some of these people get. Excuse me if I get a little woke for a minute, but Sue was like the MVP in this movie. I liked everybody in this movie. I liked all the performances from everybody. They were great, but she really stood out. She really stood out as like the heart and center of the team. Um, but just like she was great. Vanessa Kirby did her thing, and honestly, this is like the best Susan Storm we've ever gotten in a Fantastic Four movie. Like hands down on that one. I feel. All right, now for some stuff I didn't like. The visuals and effects are mostly great. Sometimes they aren't like the best. Notably in Franklin, the little baby Franklin, which is understandable. You can't direct a damn baby as much as you will want to and believe. You can't direct a damn baby, so you can't have it do the things necessary it's needed to do. And of course, child labor fucking laws. You can't use the baby every time. So sometimes the CG of the baby does get a little wonky. Um, yeah, in some shots, so there is that. Also, there's a moment when Reed is like in danger when he's kind of he's in a bad spot. The CGI looked a little funky there for me too. But yeah, so just some shots. The visual effects aren't the best. Um, like I mentioned, while some of the act, like I said, this is kind of some of the best action we've gotten in the Fantastic Four movie, but I still don't think it's up there. I had the same issue with Guardians of the Galaxy, like the first two, um, where everyone does something, but there's not like real like hand to hand or one on one fighting going on. You know what I mean? Like everybody isn't like throwing hands. Everybody's just completing a task. Um, Sorry. And like that's I had that with the Guardians movie, and it took till like the third damn movie. If y'all know what I'm talking about, in that final Guardians of the Galaxy 3, that final climactic fight that took place in that hallway, that's the kind of shit I want to see. And I understand sometimes because like the first two movies, it was but I like to see that. I like to see just that straight up just throwing hands. That's what I want to see. And like the same here. The fight scene was good, but it wasn't fully what I wanted. It's kind of the whole thing when it's like a team fighting against like one all powerful person or something, shit like that. You kind of can't really get that too much, but I wish we did. I really wish we got that in this movie. Um, and like the chase scene is great. I was into like the climax battle, but still had it still had the whole thing. Everybody was kind of like completing a task and filling roles. So that just a little personal thing for me. I wish we got a little bit more. But speaking on that, um, touching a little bit more on how people say like the beginning was a little slow. I liked it though. So if you are expecting like big action right out the gate, you'll be disappointed. There is some moments the montage doesn't at least make it interesting, but there's no big like opening battle or big fight at the very start, to kind of make things interesting. But I will say, sort of connecting with that and with the fight scene I talked about, the fighting stuff I talked about at the beginning, I'm gonna be a little nitpicky here. But the movie, like I said, had that montage. Um, it tells their story and hits at some of their villains. And John Malkovich was cast as a villain. I believe he was cast as Red Ghost, who's a classic Fantastic Four villain. His scenes were cut, and I think those originally were supposed to be what the opening was, but they changed it. And I do wish we got that because it seemed like that one was a little bit more focused on kind of more like that action I was talking about, more that one-on-one kind of action. But yeah, it was also would have been more of an action-packed opening sequence as opposed to a montage. But hey, you gotta take what you can get on that one. But yeah, I do wish that was a little bit more present in that one. But again, that's me being a little nitpicky on that stuff there. But I think that's about everything from stuff I didn't like about the movie. Like I said, not very much. Um, so filmmaker notes, big ups to practical effects. If you didn't know, the Thing and Herbie in this movie were practical for this. There was some slight CG for them, but for the most part, they were practical. Thing, of course, more so, especially on the face. I'm pretty sure Ibn Mouse Baccarat wore, the little dots on his face. He did wear a CG suit sometimes, but there was photos of a practical suit. So there were some times where he probably did have the practical suit on. So big ups to that. But more than likely, a lot of the stuff probably was CG more than others. But I do want to mention Herbie. Herbie was practical for like most of the whole thing. He was practical. It was like puppets and like a remote control sort of animatronic thing. I believe some of his face animations were CG, but for the most part, it was practical. So I just want to say big ups to some practical effects. I love it when people decide to go practical and they work. I love that shit all the time. All right. Next up, there are two post-credit scenes in this as well. One a fun one. The other gives a little bit more of a tease of what's to come. Um, but I will say, I probably should have talked about this. I think I was supposed to write this and I didn't. Um, post-credit scenes were a little, Again, at this point, you're kind of hoping the post-credit scenes at least tee up some things and tease some things. One did, but it wasn't it was very slight. It was very very slight. But again, that's just me. Future of the franchise. We know the Fantastic Four are going to return for Avengers Doomsday, and more than likely they're also going to be there for a Secret War as well. Beyond that, it's kind of an unknown right now. But listen. I got a theory right now, though. I have a big theory. It was something that was slightly present. In it was something that was slightly present when they announced the cast way back. I don't think I ever voiced it. At least I don't think. Or if it is, it's buried in a podcast I got in one of the old podcast episodes. But I had a theory since the cast announcement. But the events of this movie, I feel, make reinforce it even more, make it more plausible for this theory I got. Right? I don't think this cast, Pedro, Vanessa, Joseph, Iban, I don't think this cast is meant to be around for long. Um, Now, when they first announced they were doing Fantastic Four, I would have put money on the fact that they were going with a younger, more closer to like the ultimate Fantastic Four, younger actors, kind of like what Fant Forstick tried to do. I would have put money that that's the direction they were going. Bring in the Fantastic Four, but also have them be one of the pillars that you rely on for like the next 10, 12 years to bring around for movies and shit. So the fact that they went a little older with the cast, I was a little surprised. So I found that with them being older, I found that interesting. So no spoilers for the way this movie ends, but it leaves them in a very weird spot for the future. And if you know what we're getting in Secret Wars, you kind of know. I talked about it in like one of our news drops about Kevin Feige sort of talking about what the future of the MCU is. Um, so I thought this is very interesting. We know after Secret Wars we might be getting a little bit of a reboot. I don't know how many of the stuff we have now that's going to cross over there, but I think we're getting them in Doomsday, and I think we're getting them in Secret Wars, and I think the actors that are playing the Fantastic Four, this group of four, I think they're done after Secret Wars. I think after Secret Wars we're gonna get a rebooted universe, and I think after that we're gonna get probably some younger actors cast as sort of a rebooted thing of the Fantastic Four. That's just my theory. That's just my film theory. That's just the theory I got there. So we'll see how true this is. All right, so my final thoughts. First steps, Fantastic Four First Steps is filled with a lot of heart and a lot of brains. All the actors brought their A game and performed their task to a T. This is definitely one of the best looking Marvel entries in a while. Um, and with the retro futuristic 60s style, just gives it that distinct look and character that I think has been something that has really been like the main thing for movies from the MCU post Endgame. While the film is dazzling visually, the pacing may be slow for some, and the effects can be sloppy in some areas. Besides that though, you add in a great soundscape from the effects to the music to the score. Some honestly very heavy stakes. With some great character moments, and honestly a dilemma that I think um, everybody, a parent, uncle, aunt, sibling, anything. I think anybody can relate with the plight that is the core conflict in this movie that we can all relate to. And character moments. I think this film really continues to show that if you put a little bit more creativity, make a movie more unique and distinctive, it's truly what Marvel has been missing and needing as of late. Like especially if you add into the Thunderbolts being great, I think that's what makes what Marvel's kind of been needing as of late. And I think Fantastic Four might stand as also being one of the better MCU movies, not even just in the multiverse era, but probably just in the whole of Marvel. It's really that damn good. If I had to give it a score, I'd probably give it like an 8 to 8.5. Somewhere around there. This is it's a really really damn good movie. And I think definitely going to be something I would probably recommend to any Marvel fan. If you're still sitting on the fence, if you're still kind of worried about the way Marvel's moving as of late, you don't know if you really want to dedicate time and money to go out to the theater and watch a Marvel movie because you don't know what you're going to get. I will say this is definitely one of those ones. I definitely, honestly believe that it's worth it. So that is my review, but not a review. That's my impressions of Fantastic Four First Steps. And that's what I thought. That's what I think. And I think this is a really good movie. So let me know what you think. Did you see the movie? What did you think of the film so far? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you feel like it was mid? Did you feel like it was great? Did you score it higher or lower than kind of what I scored? Do you think it's kind of around there? But anyway, yeah, let me know all that down in the comments. And if you feel like I said, if you feel the time, go check out some of the other stuff I talk about. I think Superman I also saw, so I dropped my I just watched for that. So feel free to check that out at some time. But anyway, yeah, that's Fantastic Four First Steps. I just watched it. Honestly, I think after this is like the only major film I believe that it was on my list for the rest of the year. Everything else is like um some smaller stuff. Like there's a bunch of horror movies coming out that I'm interested in. I think Weapons drops this weekend. That looks fucking dope. I'm excited for that. I think whatchamacallit comes out this month too. Together. I think that comes out this month too. So I'm interested in that. Other than that, I think for like major blockbusters. I think this is it. Um, maybe Tron. We'll see. We'll see how Tron is. I might wait for some reviews to see what the temp is on Tron Ares. But yeah, that's Fantastic Four First Steps. Let me know what you thought of the movie in the comments. Feel free to check out the rest of the stuff on the channel. We also just wrapped up Dragon Age. The Dragon Age series took us a year to get through it. My dumbass thought I'd be able to. My dumbass thought I'd be able to play it and finish it before Veilguard came out last November. So there you go. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. Always remember everybody to stay watching, stay playing, stay active, stay active. What? Stay watching, stay playing, stay awesome, stay active too. If that's your thing too, I know something my fat ass probably needs to do. But anywho, until next time, everybody, I will speak to you all later. Goodbye.